Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. I'm your host, Hannah MacDonald, and I'll be bookending the conversation with some of the most exciting voices from the bookish world.
Hello everyone, what a gorgeous turnout. Welcome to my second ever A Pair of Bookends live. We are recording at Social Refuge, home of the iconic Queerlit bookshop. I'm Hannah, host of the A Pair of Bookends podcast, and I am so excited to be here to interview the incredible Chloe Michelle Howarth for our November book club episode. We are of course here as part of Chloe's book tour for Heap Earth Upon It. Has anybody here read it yet? Whoa! But have we got Sunburn fans in the house? Hey! Okay, so this will be a spoiler-free chat, so you don't need to worry. If you haven't already read the book, I invite you all to grab yourselves a copy, which of course you can do at the end. Before we dive into our chat, I will tell you all a little bit about Chloe. So Chloe Michelle Howarth is an Irish writer. She was born in 1996 and grew up in the West Cork countryside, which has been a huge inspiration for her writing. Chloe studied English, media and cultural studies at IADT, is that how you say it? In Dunleary, Dublin. Her debut novel Sunburn was shortlisted for the 2023 Nero Book Award for debut fiction, the 2024 Book of the Year Discover Award at the British Book Awards, and the 2024 Polari First Book Prize, and was longlisted for the 2024 Diverse Book Awards. Her second novel, Heap Earth Upon It, as I said, is our November book club pick for the podcast, and here to chat all about it. Welcome, Chloe, to Manchester and to A Pair of Bookends.
Hello, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for us to chat about your amazing new book. But I do always love to start my podcast by asking what you're currently reading.
Okay, so I'm reading. It's taken me embarrassingly long time to read it because it's a very short book. It's called The Princess of 72nd Street.
What is this?
Okay, but what? Hey, so it's a short book. I just, between the jigs and the reels, I haven't had time to sit down and read it. But it's really good. It's about a woman living in New York, and she has psychosis. But when she's in like these like states of psychosis, she calls it her radiance, and she really enjoys being in that state. And when she's in psychosis, she thinks that she's the princess of 72nd Street. And it's just, it's a very interesting look about like women and mental illness, and, you know, how much of her choices are her mental illness and how much of it is her just going against the grain.
Is it a new book?
No, it's not. It's like one of these reissued ones. It's such a good read. Haven't finished it yet.
Well, I'm on book tour though, so like...
Oh, yeah. If I finish it now in 20 minutes. I say I'll be back. It's still a few pages left, but I'm really enjoying it. It's very descriptive, and especially the descriptions of when she's in psychosis, like the way she sees the world is beautiful. So that's what I'm reading right now.
I love that. Have you got quite a diverse... Do you have quite diverse taste in terms of reading?
Well, yes and no. Like, I'll read any like lesbian story, so that can bring me into a lot of different genres. But to me, I'm like, they're all lesbian stories. And then a lot of Irish writers as well. So it's very specific, but then also that leads it to be very broad, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've got good reading taste anyway. I definitely want to read that book. And I like it. That's me. So we've already kind of figured out that we've got quite a few Sunburn fans in the house. But I do want to start by asking about Sunburn before we dive into your new book. Obviously, it's taken off. I listed the many awards it's been shortlisted for, but it was hugely successful on like Book Talk. What was that like for you?
It was really weird if I fully anticipate that, of course. And like, I remember the first few times I saw it like randomly on TikTok, I was like, what the hell? Where did you find that? It's been so nice, like just so unexpected. And yeah, like it's just the nicest thing ever.
We were talking upstairs before about I saw this TikTok yesterday of somebody at a Chapel Roan concert, and people like, nobody here knows that we're thinking about Sunburn, and they literally had Sunburn in their hands while they were at a Chapel Roan gig. I was obsessed with. But let's get into your new book, Heap Earth Upon It, which I absolutely adored. It's just so incredible. I mean, I just love the way that you write. I loved this complex family that we get all wrapped up in, and I tried to put the book down the other night to go to sleep, but I just couldn't put it down, and I stayed up till 1:30 finishing it. It's just so good. I saw somebody say that it was a masterclass in suspense, and I would completely agree. But would you like to tell us what your kind of pitch is for the book?
Okay, yes. So I'm getting better at like quickly summarizing what it's about. So it's set in 1965 in rural Ireland, and it follows these four siblings, the O'Leary siblings, and we meet them as they're leaving their hometown, and overnight they're moving to this new village to start again under suspicious, mysterious circumstances. And over the course of the book, you learn, along with the locals in the village, what's up with the O'Learys and why they've left their lives behind, and everything is not as it seems with them. And it's a lot about like grief and longing and repression and sapphic obsession, of course, is there, and gender and sexuality. Yeah, lots of different things. All the good thieves.
Yeah. I do want to ask as well, the second novel syndrome is quite a thing for writers. It's always scary.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's quite scary as well if your first book has been so successful. Did that affect your kind of, I don't know, like how you felt about writing the book? Were you nervous because of the success, or did it kind of feel encouraging? Yeah, what was that like?
Well, I remember the day after Sunburn came out, I had a call with my agent, and she was like, "What's your next book about?" And I was like, my book is out. Like, that's my only book. So then I had to just start thinking like that day, more or less. Okay, right, what will I write next? So it's not like Sunburn had really had much attention at all at that point, which is a good thing, really, because it meant that I kind of just got on with that, like with this, I should say. But I became nervous because then people kind of slowly but surely did start to say, "Oh, I really like Sunburn. I really like Sunburn." And at that point, I knew what this was going to be, and I was like, well, the next book is certainly not Sunbury. Like, they're very different. So I was a bit nervous. I was like, oh, flip, like I'm after kind of getting a readership now, and I'm potentially going to do something that they're not going to enjoy. So I just had to tell myself, okay, no one's going to read this book. It's like really, really like convince myself, like, it's just for me. I was like, you don't have an agent, no one's going to read it, just do it and enjoy it. And then when I like let myself enjoy it as a creative process, that second novel syndrome kind of went away. So that's my hack now. I'm just always pretending no one will ever read any of it. And I enjoy the process of it, because ultimately I'm just doing it for the crack for myself, like, because I enjoy it. Because that's why you should do creative things. So yeah, that's how I kind of got around that. But it was there for a minute.
I think now's a good time for us to hear a little reading.
Oh, okay. So yes, it's a hard book to talk about without spoiling, and so it's a hard book to read from without spoiling. But this part it's from early on in the book, and there's four narrators in it, three of the siblings and then one person in the town. So this is from one of the brothers, Jack. It's his first morning in this new town, and he is just a bit freaked basically at the prospect of literally starting his whole life again. And he's grieving someone, and he's quite deep in his grief at this point, and it's kind of taking over how he thinks. So this is Jack's morning. I wake to blonde light. For a moment there is nothing but this gleaming pale yellow. What sweetness, what peace. Let me touch it. I chase it, trying not to come back to life. But it's too late. I am suddenly awake. All the appalling colour of the world rushes back to me, and there is no more room for the blonde of you. I have woken to the day of your first anniversary. The comfortable smell of the newspaper and cooking rashers. The crushing weight of 365 days. The urge within me to mention your name and force my siblings to dissect every moment of your death. I sit at the table, Peggy alongside me, asking Anna where her school pinafore is gone. Tom puts a hand on my shoulder and squeezes without looking up from the paper. It's hard to say how many times he has told me that time heals all wounds. Hard advice to be grateful for when you aren't something that I want to heal from. I feel every muscle in his hand and send the small bit of good that's left in me back to Kilmara, back to you. Blessing myself, I take the heel of the bread the doctor left. Do you know that I would have helped your sisters today? I'd be below at your father's house now with the cart, waiting to bring them all down to Mass. And then I would have stayed on and looked after him. I would have looked after him for the rest of his life. I hope that you know how much they mean to me. Yet another thing out of my reach. I butter the bread and try to find a way to make the best of this. But sure, look, I hear your voice telling me. Look at all the good things that are here. And it's true. As the sun begins to show itself, I see that I've Peggy and bread and blackberry jam. Somehow I've enough strength left in me to believe that 1965 could be good to us all. And in the mornings, however briefly, I have blonde light.
That's not. It's so nice to hear it in my voice as well. Oh god. Do you not be reading it? No, I get stressed reading and I feel like I'm reading
Thing, you know, it's not. That's not. Can you tell? This is the way I speak, and when I read that, I'm like, like it's very like. No, you read it lovely. It was so beautiful. Thank you. No, I absolutely loved it, and I think you really get a flavour there of like how much of a like visual writer you are. I think that's how you describe it. Because when I read your books, you know, you can really see how like when you talk about like the sunlight hitting a character or like just really beautiful observations about things, which just made me completely fall in love with the characters. And I've listened to several of your interviews, and you talk about how you have a colour palette for each of your books when you're writing. Could you tell us a bit about that and how it helps with your process?
Yeah, that's like one of the first things that came to me for Sunburn and for this book. So yeah, like the Sunburn color palette, it's very obvious, isn't it? Like it's summertime, sunrise, sunsets, like warm golden colors, and it really like comes across a lot, I think, in the writing. So with this, the first thing I did with it was I was like, I'll just do the opposite color palette. So it's very, in this book, there's lots of like purple and grey and indigo, and those kind of colours are mentioned a lot. And that kind of made it like a wintertime story as opposed to a summertime story. And so once I had like the colours and the seasons and the weather, that's like where I started. It seems to be like an easy place for me to start, and then everything builds around that, you know.
Where did that come from? Was that something you've been taught, or is it just
I don't
the way you've always
know.
written?
It's just one of those things. I don't know. I was not taught it, but like it's just it's like an abstract way to start a novel, but
It's
it
such a nice
just
way to
seems
think.
to help me to understand like where I'm going in terms of the mood of the piece. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It definitely feels like Heap Earth Upon It is much darker. But then I think in Sunburn as well, like you said, there was much like brighter, lighter colours. Then I think there's a shift in the colour palette partway through, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So, but yeah, you definitely get the visuals for that, which I loved. I also felt like there was definitely a change of pace with this book. It feels like it's much more fast paced. Like with Sunburn, it was like long summer days, and it was just like, you know, a much slower pace. But with this one, it felt like there was almost like, I don't know, like a ticking time bomb about to go off. Did it feel like that when you were writing it?
Well, that I was trying to get there. Of course, when I was writing it, I was like, this is slow, you know. But I think because there's 4 narrators, that's what gives it pace. I'm sure if there was just one narrator in this book, it would seem probably quite slow. But I think it's more just the fact that it keeps changing perspective, and then that it begins to change perspective quite quickly.
Yeah.
That's what gives it pace, I think.
Yeah.
I was just keen to see if I could do something pacey, because Sunburn is very long summer days, very dreamy, this sort of thing. So I was like, I wonder, can I actually do something else? Like, am I able to write with pace, or is that just something I'm not able to do? So it was more test for myself, really, you know.
I mean, it's definitely fast paced. That's why I don't think I could get to sleep. And then I was still lay awake staring at the ceiling thinking about like what could have happened with these characters. I did say I'd keep it spoiler free, so I'm going to be really careful. Sunburn is obviously told from the perspective of Lucy. It's just Lucy's perspective, but in Heap Earth Upon It we have multiple POV. We have 3 of 4 siblings, and we also have one of their neighbours, Betty. Don't feel like that's a spoiler to say that, is it?
Great.
How do you decide whose perspective you share and how much of it you share?
Well, initially it was the four siblings. That was where I started because it kind of just made sense to understand like how the family worked, and I wanted to see it from as many angles as was possible. So it was the four siblings initially, and then I kind of got this, like the book was almost done, and I had this bad feeling that I was like, I think we need an outside perspective from outside the family. But I was like, maybe I'll get away with it, maybe I won't. And then my editor was like, have you considered someone from outside the family? And I was like, oh God, because then that's so much more writing to do. So a lot of Peggy's chapters, she's with Betty a lot. That's not a spoiler to say. And so a lot of the scenes and scenarios that they were in, I kind of reimagined them from Betty's perspective, which was a really good like exercise. It was a good like writing challenge to see like how do you write something from the perspective of like an 11-year-old and then, you know, a middle-aged woman, and where what can stay and what can't stay. So yeah, I think it was definitely a good choice because the family are very intense and like you kind of can't just get your information from them because they're very unreliable and they contradict each other all the time. So I think having someone outside the family kind of anchors you a bit.
Yeah.
And Betty keeps you in the real world a bit more.
Yeah.
So I think she's important to have.
Yeah, I mean, she's a really great character, and it is kind of cool to see this family from an outside eye. But I suppose you'd be getting the same amount of backstory of this family from her like you would with Peggy, because there's not much that Peggy will understand because she's so young. So I suppose it's like a similar amount of perspective that you could share from her. Obviously, the Heap Earth Upon It is set in the 60s, Sunburn is set in the 90s. I really want to ask about how you choose the time period that you want to write in. Was there anything specific for this book about the 60s that drew you towards writing it?
It was lots of things. Like initially, the first few drafts weren't set in any particular decade. And like there was early drafts where I was like, this could be 1800s. Like I wasn't really tied to any particular era. And until then, as I was getting more and more serious with it, I was like, right, you need to choose now because you need to know like what do they have access to? What can they buy in the shop? What are they going to have in the house? You know, things like that. But 60s in Ireland, like rural Ireland especially, it was just fascinating time to me because they were so different to what we're used to seeing. Like the 60s in London or San Francisco, like you've such an image, like it's counterculture and things like Woodstock and hippies and all this, like that just wasn't happening in rural Ireland at that time. It was like, that was more 70s, like early to mid 70s. And so I wanted to write about a time where these characters they're in a bit of a claustrophobic situation and they want things to change, but they're not changing. And I think similarly, Ireland at that time, people were ready for change and they were seeing change happen everywhere else, but things weren't changing in Ireland. So it was just an interesting time that they seemed to be in a very different position to a lot of other countries in the Western world. And also, I'm sure we'll talk more about queerness, but I wanted to write about a queer character in that setting, where I think if the queer character in this book was in one of those other countries, life probably would have been a lot easier or different at least. But I wanted to explore queerness in a place and time. Like in Sunburn, the queerness is quite taboo. The person's in the book, like she feels like she's not allowed to express her queerness. Whereas with this, the queer character in the book doesn't even know what queerness is because she doesn't know any queer people. It's not something that's represented in the media. It's not talked about, like good or bad. In my research, that was something I kept coming across. People were like, we just didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it. So I was like, God, imagine trying to understand that you were queer, but it was completely foreign concept to you. It would be such a confusing, strange, alienating situation. So yeah, the 60s was kind of the last time when I could have got away with that, because early 70s, like the Irish gay rights movements really started to kick off. Even 60s in like Dublin, for example, there would have been some underground spots, but like rural Ireland in the 60s, it was that last moment of like, there's no such thing as queerness, you know?
Did you get to talk to many queer people about what that experience was like in the
It
60s in Rural Ireland?
literally, no, it was so difficult to find any first-hand accounts because I think just the level of repression is just like, you know, unimaginable. Yeah, I was able to find a few things. Again, it was more Dublin and people maybe who would have been living in rural spaces who'd gone to Dublin, certainly people who'd gone to London or America, but like people who just lived in rural spaces, almost impossible. And what I did find was like awful, like so hard to read. So yeah, it was. Oh, it was. No, I
It's too
won't
dark.
like.
No.
Too many trigger warnings would be necessary.
Fair,
Like they were
fair.
just too dark. But yeah, like it was just shocking because it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, like it really wasn't that long ago at all that and like in my parents' lifetime even, I'm like, God, it's hard to believe that
Yeah.
like queerness was just like blank statement, no, doesn't exist. And now Ireland is so different. You know, it was very illuminating.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. I'm sure we'll return to talking about queer characters. But I do want to touch on while we're talking about Rural Ireland. You grew up in Rural Ireland.
I did.
Yes.
Yes.
Why do you think Rural Ireland is so compelling to read about in stories?
Well, I'm biased, but I just think it's so beautiful. It's visually absolutely beautiful in any season. And I think also like the people who live there, like the way that people speak and the culture and the crack, like it's just very unique. And I just love it. I don't know. It's just this special part of the world that it's like endlessly fascinating and entertaining to me. Is there anyone in from Ireland? Whereabouts? Oh, Jacqueline from the city.
I do love though the lines of dialogue in the book. There's so much dialogue that is very Irish. There's certain phrases and things that I just didn't understand.
Okay.
But I was just like I was happy to go along for the ride. Do you know what I mean? Is it really important for you to have? I mean, I suppose it's just natural for you to have that kind of dialogue in there.
Yeah, with this, I just wanted to mirror like the way that I talk
Yeah.
and the way that like if I was at home now listening to like maybe my granny and my mom, just capture the essence of that type of conversation and the phrasing and the music of their voices. You know, it's like it's a really lovely thing to tune into. And I just wanted to try and capture it authentically. But there was times where like a lot of this I would write it and then read it out loud to myself to be like, oh no, I'd actually swap those two words around or I, you know, because it's not necessarily grammatically correct, but it has this flow to it. But sometimes I'd write something down and I'd read it back and I'd be like, what the hell is that? Like, even sometimes I couldn't decipher it myself. But yeah, it's not that it was something that it was like, this is important to me, but like, I just wanted to write in the way that I speak. I think probably because I live in Brighton now. And so it was probably just homesickness and a way for me to connect with some sort of subconscious like connection to home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really like, it was a very relaxed way to write, you know, whereas Sunburn, like the language sometimes can be, you know, it's very over the top sometimes. So this was a bit more grounded. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were scenes that I absolutely loved between Betty and is it Kira?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I absolutely loved the moments between them. There's like one scene where Betty looks out the window and sees Kira marching down the path with her husband behind her, and she's about to go out, but she now can't go out because Kira's coming to bitch about her husband and is so mad about him. And I just loved the moments like that. It just felt like there's such a kind of community in this little place that they live, and also it feels like there's a lot of like gossip, which I absolutely loved. I love the drama of it. Can I ask about Betty?
Oh yeah.
What was the inspiration behind her character?
She is like, I think she's someone you get in a lot of Irish towns. She's kind of the quiet queen bee of the town. Like, I wouldn't say she's a good person. She's a very good person. And but you know, she's one of those people who, she kind of has it all. She's popular, she's wealthy, she has a lovely husband who she does love. And she's I don't know, there's something very maternal about her. I think there's one of her in every town, you know. I really liked writing her. She's such a nice character. So her kind of story is herself and her husband are, like I said, they're like wealthy, farmers, and but they've never been able to have children, and they've reached a point now where they never will be able to have children, and it's just been a great disappointment to them. And so when the O'Learys land on, who desperately need like guidance in their lives, it's kind of the perfect fit of people. You know, these people need parenting and we want to be parents, so they kind of all become this unit together. And yeah, she's just lovely. Maybe she's too nice. But
she is such a special character, and I think there's a moment where she's like, why do I always want to like mother things or mother people? But she really does take on that role, doesn't she? I mean, she immediately sees when these siblings arrive in this village. Would you say village? Small town. She immediately sees how like fragile and vulnerable they are, and she's encouraging her husband to be like, you must sort the lads out with a job, and she takes, as we said, Peggy, the youngest sibling, under her wing, and I do think she is a really special character. I do want to talk about the siblings though, because obviously we've said we have 4 of them, and they've moved away from home to start a new life. Can we say that? Is it dead? Yeah, great. The parents are dead. Didn't do a good job of hiding that. So they feel like a very isolated unit. How did they come to be? Was it always going to be 4 siblings?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I never really considered another dynamic. I just was like, there's 4 of them and that's it. But it does work. I mean, there's 2 brothers. Tom is the oldest, then you've Jack, then you've Anna. They're all kind of in their like late 20s. And then you've Peggy, who's a child. And I think Tom and Jack they were like an exploration of 2 different types of masculinity. And then with Anna and Peggy, it's sort of like the mother and the child, essentially. So they all started out off as just like different archetypes, but it was strange. I never really considered it being another way. There just always was the 4 of them. And I didn't really consider, having less or having more or anything. They were just the 4. And the more I wrote them, obviously, the more they like changed. They got a bit out of hand. Because they're orphaned. I think it says it on the back of the book. That's not a spoiler. They were like I enjoyed writing them because they all kind of, apparently like if something traumatic happens to you at a certain age, you can kind of mentally stop aging. So like if something bad happens to you when you're 15, you kind of be just mentally 15 forever. Like you can stop developing at that point in time. So all of these siblings have really stopped developing at like certain ages, and you can kind of see like that they really haven't grown up at all. So they're very intense, but it was good to write them.
I mean, you write siblings so well. Have you got siblings?
Yeah, but we're normal.
It's not inspired by your family. Where do you sit in the sibling dynamic?
So I have a brother who's 2 years older than me, and then I have a brother who's 4 years younger than me.
Middle child.
My
middle sister is here. I'm the oldest, so I really, I don't want to say related to Tom in some points because he was quite questionable. But yeah, I think as an eldest sibling, you really do you feel like there's a lot of pressure. And I think I really loved the way that you explored the sort of blurred lines between, feeling like a sibling, but also feeling like a parent. I think as an oldest child, you definitely feel like that sometimes. But that kind of falls to Anna in this book, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. That was a theme I think it was something I had noticed like reoccurring in my own life where like, men, whatever they are to you, your friend, your boyfriend, your brother, whatever, I think if they can, they'll make you their mom. Men are so happy to just, don't you think that's true? It's so true. And like, look, everyone's laughing. So I'm like, well, it is true. It's not just me. And yes, when I noticed that, I was like, I'm angry about this. And so this kind of helped me to work through that. But yeah, like the 2 older brothers in this book very much let her take on the role of the mother. And I think, I was going to say, at that time in Irish society, but obviously how much has changed because everyone seems to relate. But I think at that time in Irish society, women were to be mothers. And these lads are like, well, our mom's gone. So you need to step up now and be our mom and also be little Peggy's mom.
Yeah.
which is a horrible position to be put in. And she really resents that. So yeah, maybe some of it came from personal experience. It was cathartic to write about it for sure.
You just want to fight every man you see, I think they do have a really complicated dynamic, which it sounds like I'm a bit sick because I really enjoy stuff like that. I'm like, I want to read more of it. Love complex family dynamics. I think it's so interesting to read about. And I wanted to ask you, because I've got a couple of quotes here. Jack says on Tom, who is the oldest brother, he's the type to admit to false feelings to please people. It's hard to know if he has any sincere feelings at all. And then Tom, the oldest, says on Anna, she can be such a frightening girl. So I want to ask you, would you say that there's love between them still?
I think that, see, the thing is, they are still all moving as this unit together. Obviously, they have little Peggy to take care of. But does she need 3 people taking care of her? Probably not. So I think the fact that they've all stuck together, there's definitely a lot of codependency, probably like trauma bonding. But I do think that they want their family to succeed. They want the family to work out. Maybe they don't love each other on an individual level, but they love the family and the idea of the family. And they're all very keen for that to work out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they put an awful lot of energy into each other. And maybe they waste a lot of energy on each other. I think there is love there, but it's quite
almost
strained.
Like nobody else can go against them, but you can go against each other.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very sibling core. You mentioned a couple of times about, gender roles and how different they are, but also, with us laughing, how much has that changed? And I think both of your books explore those sort of traditional values in the Irish family home. But definitely with this book, it's mostly apparent. How much did you feel that your characters are sort of impacted by those gender roles?
I think they're probably all impacted by it quite a lot, just because it's something that interests me as a person, and so it naturally finds its way into the writing. But also, like, it's a fact of life. It's unignorable, isn't it? You can't just pretend that your gender doesn't rein you in certain ways. Or like whatever your expression of gender is, like, it is going to put you in a certain position. So yeah, it's definitely quite a common theme. But it was really, I enjoyed this time writing from the perspective of men. And like, I think I write about men a lot, but it was nice to write from the point of view of a man and kind of put myself in their shoes. And with Tom, the oldest brother, he is the type of, his masculinity is very, it's like a prison to him almost. Like, he's like, well, I have to be the best man, the biggest man. Everyone loves me. Everyone's like, good man, Tom. Like, he really needs that validation from people that he's just the best man, like, in town. And then Jack, I wanted to explore the opposite of that, where he is kind of for the first time allowing himself to be in touch with his emotions, because I think historically Irish men especially are just they have not been allowed to do that. And so Jack was like, okay, I'm going to feel my feelings. But if you've never ever let yourself feel your feelings before, can you imagine the first time you do it? Like, it takes over his life, and then he gets so lost in his feelings. And it definitely, it impacts then how he gets on in this new town. And he's like, why am I not getting on as well as I was getting on before when I was pushing everything down? So it gave me an awful lot of sympathy for men when I was writing it. Yeah.
Do you think it's harder to write from a character that's repressing everything?
No, because I think, like, on the surface, they're repressing everything, but the internal monologue is just them going over and over and over, ruminating on these things. So if you're in their head, nothing is being repressed. But it's just when you see them from other people's eyes or what they're saying to people, on the surface level. But I don't know how could you write a character who was repressed, who doesn't actually mention any of the well, then you wouldn't know that they were repressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, if anything, I think you have to write about the emotion even more to get across the point that they're really struggling with this.
I mean, I don't think in Sunburn it's ever a mystery how Lucy's feeling. We know exactly how she's feeling. I found it really funny in this household how Anna is just forced to cook, but she just can't cook. And she's just continuing to have, like, she gives like cold fish, like it's cold in the middle. And she's making just like everything's just boiled in a pot and it's just awful. And I'm like, will somebody else please take over? I also want to ask, I'm not somebody that's religious, so it was really fascinating to me to read about how much of a role religion plays in their society and in these characters' lives. We really feel the presence of God and the importance of like prayer and going to mass. And I don't know if you felt like that was something that was specific to that time period. I'm not sure what it's like in Ireland now.
Well, I mean, like I was born in 96 and like grew up in the 2000s, and I'm not from a religious family at all, but like I would say I'm like culturally Catholic, and like it does inform, sure Jesus, it's all in Sunburn, like that. I didn't really have to research that, like that was all in here. It definitely informs a lot of like how I see the world. And so I just think it's a part of living in rural Ireland. It's in the way we speak. And it's very normal to like passing the church, or if an ambulance passes or whatever, to bless yourself, all these little things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was, I think especially in the 60s, for the first time, people were pushing back against, there'd never really been any separation between church and state. And that's when people started to think, hang on, this really can't go on anymore. And so it's an interesting time to write about Catholicism in Ireland, because some of the characters are really embracing their love of God. Some of them are starting to question it for the first time ever. But yeah, I think it is just kind of part of society there.
Yeah.
It's just, it is, I wonder now if it's almost more of a cultural thing. I think it was when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Like, you don't necessarily have to believe in it, but it's still a part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Do you think it's something that will always feature in your work?
Well, I suppose, I don't know. Let's say, like, what if it's the year 2050 and I'm writing about 2040 or something? Like, I don't know how it's going to go. There's so many more like non-denominational schools now in Ireland, and, things are definitely changing. But I guess if I was to write about like from 2025 back, then it would be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I said, it is just kind of, it is very much part of just how I grew up and how I understand the world. So I don't know how I'd delete that from my brain. It'd be hard. It probably would be helpful for me, but I don't know how.
Do you think you'd ever be able to write about somewhere that wasn't rural Ireland? I'm not talking about your capabilities as a writer. I mean, would you want to?
I don't know. Would I want to? Well, I don't know. I mean, because I'm living in Brighton now, I think realistically I wouldn't be surprised if at some point I was writing about Brighton. Probably if I wasn't living there anymore, I'd be writing about it. But I just think realistically it would be an Irish person in Brighton.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone from another country in Ireland, Because again, it's the same thing. Like, that's how I am Irish. That's my lens. Like, I understand the world from that context. So I think if I want to have like a level of authenticity in what I'm writing, I might have to keep that in. And also it's just like the way the speech and everything, like I can write from an Irish voice. Could I like convincingly write from the perspective of someone from New York? I doubt it. Like, I could try it, but I don't know. But this is it. I love the people of rural Ireland, and and the landscape and everything. Like, that's very, very compelling to me. So I don't see myself moving away from it yet, but never say never.
I'm intrigued. But the two places that you mentioned in this book, they're fictional places, right?
Yeah.
Why did you choose to fictionalize places?
Because the one in Sunburn is fictional as well. Like, they're roughly, I would say, like, Sunburn is in some type of place in West Cork, where I'm from. This is in some sort of place in Kerry, which is next to Cork. But the main reason is, like, it just would be too much research if it was a real town, and if the source material is so sparse. I wouldn't want to be like, this character went to the chemist, and then someone go, I lived through that, and the chemist was in the next town. We didn't have a chemist. Like, it's just too much admin and too much research, basically. And I think sometimes you can spend an awful lot of time doing research, and it's fascinating, but that's not, for me, that's not where like the creative fulfillment comes from. So I don't want there to be too many roadblocks in the way of the words, So it's just easier if it's fictional.
Feels safe.
It's just lazier, realistically.
I want to ask you about obsession, because
yeah.
it's a very big theme in this book. What do you think drew you to writing about obsession?
Well, it's so basically, I
This is
think,
where we've got to be careful because it's spoiler territory.
yeah, exactly. With Sunburn, people have noted that that is like romance, but it is a very obsessive. And this, there is undoubtedly obsession in Heap Earth Upon It. But for me, it always comes from the initial feeling is longing. And these characters who are just so desperate to have something that's out of reach to them. And if you keep something out of reach for long enough, it will become obsession. So I'm never really starting from it. It is always yearning at its core for me. Like I said, with Sunburn, it was kind of romance veering into obsession. So this time I did think, okay, let me start more in the obsession stage of it, or the very, very intense yearning, and then see what that veers into, which I won't say because it's a spoiler. But yeah, it's so funny. It seems to be a default for me to go to that obsessive place, but it's fascinating to just keep something out of reach of a character and just to see what they'll do and how they'll feel and what is the reaction to just never getting what you want,
Yeah, the lengths that they'll go to.
Yeah.
I'll play it safe and not continue talking about the obsession in this book. But I think in Sunburn, there's so much yearning, and it's probably the safer part of obsession. Would it be a safer part of obsession? There's a lot of like chat online about yearning and whether we've kind of lost the art of yearning. Would you say that we have?
Well, I don't know. That's all the buzz now, isn't it? Yeah, everyone's kind of talking about yearning. I certainly haven't, because it's what I write my books about. I don't know. I think that people won't be saying that in a few months. It's just a trend, isn't it?
I don't know.
To say that.
I feel like in books and in TV and culture and stuff, but I feel like I don't know if it's because we now have social media and, it's like instant messaging and stuff like that. We don't feel like we're ever without the person. Whether people have kind of...
But then, like, when you're first seeing someone and they message you and you message them, right? And then if they take 10 minutes, you then are like,
it's hell.
I have to wait 15 minutes now. That's like the modern yearning. And that gap between the messages getting bigger and bigger because you're both playing it cool. Like,
yeah,
that's such an intense... And the phone lights up, you're like... But then you have to wait. That waiting is awful. And then you have to, how long is it going to be till they text me back? They're all these funny little games. Like, is that modern yearning maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's just you need to look out for it. But it's there.
It is, yeah, you're right. No, you're fair. I think as well when you see somebody read your message and then they don't reply and you're just left on red. Oh, it's really upsetting. Was it freeing to not have to deal with social media and phones and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think like... But neither of these stories would work with access to mobile phones or the internet or anything like that. It would just kind of, I think they'd both be wrapped up very, very quickly. So I have found with these two books, at least, they wouldn't be helpful devices at all. They'd just kind of prevent the story from being told. I might be interested to write about it one day, maybe, but not currently. Maybe I'd be interested like to write now about like Bebo or MSN or like the things we don't have anymore, because they seem more fabulous because they're gone.
And you'd have to nudge somebody on MSN to get them to reply.
Yeah.
Or was that just me because I'm a loser?
Yeah, things like that. Yeah.
I want to ask you about writing influences. Who would you say are your biggest writing influences? What were the books and writers that you were kind of looking to when you were kind of starting out on your writing journey?
Do you know what? I'm very much the person where like whatever the last book I've read is, I go, that's my favorite book. So like I would have to say that everything I read definitely influences my writing. And I think I can be kind of impressionable. Like I remember once I read Shy by Max Porter, and everything I was writing for the next like day after that, I actually was like, I'm going to have to take a break from writing, because that's a book from the perspective of like a young teenage boy in a very, very difficult situation. And I was writing from his point of view. And I was like, well, I'm just copying Max Porter, so I just need to stop. So yeah, all that to say, I think everything I read is it comes out in the work somehow. But the writers that I really admire, I've always loved Jeffrey Eugenides. Like everything he's written, I just think he's amazing. I love Claire Keegan. She's so good at she says so much in so few words. She's very, very, very good. Love Colm
Got a
Tobin.
favourite of Claire Keegan.
I love So Late in the Day.
I haven't read that one.
That's her newest one, I
Yeah.
think. I love Colm Tobin. I love Orla Mackey's book Mouthing. I thought was brilliant.
That's very good.
Yeah, it's really good. Anything though, genuinely that I read, I can see the good. I'm not like a hater really with books too much. Like I can kind of see the good in pretty much everything. So yeah, it's all inspiring in some way or another.
I love that. I am aware of time and I do want everyone to have an opportunity to ask a question. And I do finish the podcast with asking for a recommendation. But I'm really cringe and I prepared a game.
Oh
Are you up for a game?
Played a game
In your life.
What's the game?
So I've just got a few questions for you, and it's based on stuff that I've seen online about your books. So there's no kind of specific this is a bit of a chaotic game, but I hope you like it. So my first question, which character is this Goodreads review talking about? So it's name, you would have loved Good Luck Babe by Chapel Roan.
Oh, it's Lucy or Susanna, is it?
Which one?
Susanna.
It is Susanna. Which of your novels is this quote from? A tiny little detail that perhaps she doesn't think I will notice, but I notice everything. I feel everything. You wrote it.
Is it from Sunburn?
No. Oh my God. Really testing you now. Which of your novels is this reviewer talking about? If Holy by King Princess and Take Me to Church by Hosier had a literary baby, this would be it.
Heap Earth Upon It?
No.
Oh, God. But just to say, I don't go on Goodreads ever. So I don't have any, barometer
very well
for what
loved on
people
there.
are saying.
They're saying very good things. A book talker listed Sunburn in her top 5 makeup removers. But what quote did she reference that can get all your makeup off? As in, she's crying.
Oh, right.
What quote from Sunburn did she reference?
The only quote, realistically, that I know of by heart and that I see a lot is to be with her is a sin, to be without her is a tragedy.
Yeah. And the last one, which of your novels is this reviewer referring to? Supporting women's rights and women's wrongs.
Is that Heap Earth Upon It?
It is. But it could have been either. It's a really funny game. I love that. Lastly, before we get into audience questions, I love to finish by asking for a recommendation. And you have already mentioned a lot of books that you enjoy, but is there anything culturally, any books, TV, film, anything that you've been enjoying recently?
I would recommend, because we've been talking a lot about obsession, the book This Immaculate Body. If anyone's read that, it's brilliant. And I read it while I was writing this. And it's about this woman who is a cleaner and she cleans for this guy who she's never met. She's cleaned for him for years, but she's never met him. She knows all these intimate details about him because she's in his gaff like twice a week, every week. And you meet her at a point where she is convinced that they're soulmates and she's like trying to orchestrate how they'll meet because she's like, well, I'm already in love with you. So when you meet me, that's it. Like, we're going to be in love. And she is obsessed, unhinged. And like, it's so fascinating the lengths that she goes to try and get her man. It's very, very, very good. So it's called This Immaculate Body. That's my recommendation.
Love that. I need to get a copy. Does anybody want to ask a question? No? Kathy's. Yay. Okay, should I come down with a... There's no dignified way of getting up and down. Oh, no. Yeah.
So I loved Sunburns. This question is actually about Sunburn. I've not had a chance to read the other one yet, but you left the book pretty open-ended, and I just wanted to ask, was there an intention behind leaving it open-ended? I mean, it was kind of hopeful, but it was open-ended and it felt deliberate, so I just wanted to ask why that was.
Well, I think one of the main reasons is their relationship is so up and down, isn't it? Like I don't think it would have been believable if I said and it all worked out, or if I had said and they never saw each other again, because it's so up and down and you never really know what's going to happen with them. I thought that did more justice to their journey. And also I like books that when you finish reading it, you're then thinking like, oh, what's next? Or, I like books that leave you thinking. So I didn't want to say either way what happens. Maybe I'm leaving it open for a sequel, maybe not. No, more likely not, but you never know. But yeah, it was more just to do like the relationship justice and to finish it kind of the way it had always gone. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hiya. So I've got quite a specific question about Sunburn.
Okay.
Specifically, there's a point towards the end where Lucy's receiving the letters from Susanna again, and she points out that Susanna O'Shea, those initials are SOS. I wanted to know if that was planned, if that came to you in the moment while writing it, that because I think she says something like, my soul has been saved after getting this letter off her years after they last talked. I just wanted to know if that comparison was planned or if it just kind of came as we were writing.
Yeah, her name was Susanna first, and then I thought of SOS, and I was like, okay, what can her last name be, basically?
Right.
And
okay.
luckily, loads of Irish names are something. And I think Susanna O'Shea is
It's
such
a gorgeous name, yeah.
what a beautiful girl. Such a fabulous name. So, like her first name came first, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to have to work this in now somewhere.
Okay.
That's a
Thank
good
you so
question.
much. Thank you.
Oh, I don't know how I'm going to get to you.
Well, it's fine.
Okay.
I wanted to ask about the artwork, some of the books, like you have a lot of ippos and those, or
So how it works is the same person designed both of these covers, which I love because it's the same font and they both have like the block, like they definitely look like a pair, which is fab. I'm very lucky that Verve, my publishers, have in both instances sent me variations of these. So like I was sent a few different versions of the Sunburn cover, same like color, same font, same image, but just slightly different versions. And then the same with this one. I was sent a few variations and they ask for my input, which is lovely. But that's not always the way. I know people who have been published by other publishers who, like with the US covers of these books, they just send me the US covers. They're like, here it is, by the way. Luckily, I love them. They're beautiful covers. But yeah, I think Verve are quite unique in that they ask me for my input, but I think they're fabulous. I'm glad I don't have too much say because obviously it's such a skill and I wouldn't know what to do. God forbid anyone was like, what would you actually like on the cover? I'd be like, I have no idea. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. Obviously there's so much more to it, but that's as much involvement as I have with it. Yeah, like if they send me like 4 different ones, let's say, they'll be like, which one is your favorite? And we'll take that into consideration. It might not necessarily be what they go with, but I think it's just to have another opinion in the mix, which is very nice. Yeah, I feel lucky that I get asked.
Anybody else?
That's normal. It was intentional just because I enjoy writing about those kind of more yuckier things and making them seem alluring. That's like just fun for me to do. And I was kind of surprised that I think that is my writing style. I didn't really know what my writing style was when I wrote Sunburn because it was the only book I'd written. But then when I wrote Heap Earth Upon It, like that visceral sort of romanticizing of visceral things definitely followed me. So yeah, I would say it's intentional. And then the other part of your question was about finding like a narrative voice. Is that right? I think I just try as much as I can to see them as real people. Like by the end of each book, the characters feel very, very, very real to me. And then, you know, I take like a year's distance from it and I'm like, oh, I forget what's even in the book. But like with Lucy, for example, like she's like what, 15 at the start. And so I was trying to put myself back just in the shoes of a 15-year-old girl. It's such an up and down time, loads of insecurity, very opinionated person. So yeah, I think just leaning into like the parts of them that feel real, like creates a voice. And also with this one, because there's 4 narrators, I found that giving them each their own elements of speech was very helpful. So they all have their own little habits. They all have their own little phrases that they say all the time. And that just helped me separate them and see them as separate to each other and make them feel that bit more real. I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question?
So with Sunburn, I think the narrative voice in which you write is so visceral that as I was reading it, it felt like a screenplay, which is a massive compliment, like a beautiful screenplay, because I could see everything in my head as I was reading, which immediately I was thinking, God, would this be a TV show? Would this be a movie? Who would it be? So in your ideal world, if this was adapted, who would you want to be directing it? Do you see it as a TV show, a film? What actors, actresses? Do you have an idea?
Do you know what? People ask me this and I don't really have a good answer for it. It's so funny. I think because it's definitely a different skill set and a different discipline to like create a piece of film or television that I don't understand like how it all works. So I don't give much thought to it. I think it would be nice to have just maybe Irish actors or someone who can really do a good Irish accent, because I think sometimes I hear them and I'm like, that's fishy. I don't believe it. So someone who can do a very good Irish accent, that's all I would ask for. Thank you.
But there is a TV series or film. Is there something that's been optioned?
Who knows? Who can say?
I've started reading it and it's beautiful, first of all.
Oh, thank you.
I just wondered if you were going to write another book after this. Not to sound like your agent, but and can we expect another one?
Well, like I finished writing this probably this time last year. So I've been writing that whole time because it's my job now. So I have to keep at it. But also it's my favorite hobby. I love writing so much that I think I'll always do, even if I decide not to pursue publication anymore, I'll always write. So I've been like writing all year. Any downtime I have, I'm writing. So hopefully there'll be more. Hopefully.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any last questions? Okay.
Hi, I'm curious about your mindset when you were writing Sunburn, as it was your first novel. Like, did you have this story in your mind that you just said, like, this needs to be on paper, or were you thinking, oh, I want to start writing, what should it be? Like, I'm curious how it, like, came to you at the very beginning stages.
Actually, I remember it was New Year's Day and I was on my way home. I'd been at a party in Dublin and I was in a bad way because I had to get all the way down to Cork. It's like over 3 hours. And I was like, holy God, I had all this time on the train just let my mind drift. And I just had this idea of like, what if there was 2 girls living in a village like mine in like 90s, 2000s? How would that play out, basically? Like, what would their story be? And I didn't really ruminate on it too much. I kind of started like on my notes app then, like just writing out whatever I thought of. And then it was like my hobby for a couple of months and then it was lockdown. So then I was like, well, here's my new hobby that I'm doing this book. So I just had all this time. I didn't really have like a structure at any point at all. But I just kind of kept going and going and going with the story and then it became what it is. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
I wish my hungover brain would come up with an idea like that.
Oh, it's the only time I did that.
Lastly, thank you so much, Chloe. Can everyone give a round of applause for Chloe?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.